El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages we're on these days, including Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter, at Talk El Paso, or Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. We're in a lot of different places and a lot of different ways in order to be able to facilitate that conversation because, well, we want to do that because no one else is going to talk about the things that are affecting us here in the borderland the way we are. So we are in that weird in-between week between Christmas and New Year's that a lot of people have off. We're going to be bringing you live shows through Thursday this week and then be taking the eve off, as we've talked about. But for a lot of people, you may lose track of what kind of day it is. So I hope you had a very Merry Christmas and will have a very Happy New Year. But we're going to be doing things a little bit differently this week than we normally do. Today will be kind of our review of the big stories of the moment, the ones impacting our immediate nature, be the right way to put it, I guess. But then tomorrow we'll get into some of the big interviews we had over the past year. Probably going to particularly focus on some, no big surprise, candidates that are definitely coming up here. And then probably on Wednesday, a review of some of the biggest topics of the year besides COVID. Because if we were doing that as an overriding topic of the year, that would be like the one. So we'll probably pick some others, particularly that affected us here in the borderland. And then on Thursday, we'll do our open line show, free for all, but not on Friday. So that's kind of the game plan for this week. So if you're tuned in and locked in with us, thank you for doing so. We'll be taking calls a little bit later in the hour as we usually do. But otherwise, got comments going over on the social if you want to chime in, tune in, participate in that way throughout the hour here. And also have an announcement coming up this week as well. I'll keep teasing with that here just a little bit here. But so getting straight into it, two of the biggest things going on at this moment, anyway. One, very much affecting, possibilities and, risk factors of life, the reason I'm bringing them up here. So keep that in perspective. And another one, a little bit more superfluous, but important in its own right. Not necessarily a life or death thing, but so specifically the situation going on with COVID. I know we don't delve too much into it here, but there's two factors within that own subject that I wanted to mention here. One, that with whatever's going on in the situation, we are seeing a shortage of both testing supplies, mostly the at-home tests, the mega testing sites, one that popped up as I've seen on my drive around over near UTEP, basically in between, what would be the right one there, Sun Bowl Drive, and before you hit Schuster, former, I think, medical center technically, but taking over the parking lot there. So those exist, but the at-home tests have apparently gone into short supply. I apparently got lucky myself because coming back from the travel that we did, just as a precaution, did some of those testings, and it was available at that point, but that was last week. This is this week. But the compounded, and the reason I want to bring this up more specifically is compounded with then the monoclonal antibody treatment, infusion, that has been available out there is now apparently exhausted within El Paso and the state as a whole. Now, this is something that came into place in our region last year, if you may recall, when we were leading the nation, very unfortunately, with the rates and became available with all of it. And now, because of just the issues coming up with it, Omicron variant, still hard to pin down. And I am not a doctor nor an epidemiologist, but the slight decrease in the severity of the symptoms that seems to come with it is being very much matched by the greater infectiousness of it. So that, sure, it may be less on the individual basis, but as we're looking in the aggregate, you have more people out there being affected. So not sure if it's really better overall here. But so with those monoclonal antibodies being more or less out in our area, one of the ones that, as there have been other pills that have been being approved, FDA approval, I think came out last week for the I don't remember the manufacturer, but the treatment pill for COVID-19. Probably take some time to ramp up for that, unfortunately, so not exactly a replacement. And I haven't seen or heard anything about the ivermectin trials that have been going on in our area. Some of you all send me some things. And really, when it comes down to that, talk with your doctor about that and just don't take the dose that has the horse on it. That's all I'm really going to say about it. So that's one of the more serious things going on as we're starting this Monday morning, again, in this very strange week in between the two major holidays here at the end of the year. The other one that I wanted to mention here, and again, it's not life or death, but very important in its own way, and that is, of course, is the fate of the Sun Bowl. Because, sure, it's a sporting event, and we don't really talk about sports that much here, but the impact that it has on the community, from the amount of, people, previous years, people traveling in, see if that was even be a possibility this time around. I mean, there's always someone that does. So there is an impact that comes from it, but it has to happen for that to be able to occur. And, of course, we had a serious wrench thrown into that whole possibility over this weekend here and a little bit before, more specifically, that there has been the matchup announced of the Sun Bowl that, I think it's, was it Washington State? Yeah, Washington State Cougars are no longer going to be able to face up against University of Miami Hurricanes, with University of Miami officials announcing that they no longer have their player roster in such a state due to infections of COVID-19 within their own team to be able to participate, leaving it in a situation that, at least within my lifetime, I don't remember occurring anywhere similarly, of a team pulling out entirely, saying we simply can't play. Sure, we've had the disappointing circumstances of like the star players for whatever teams are coming saying, I'm going to sit this one out because subtext, I want to make sure I don't get injured for the NFL, which is annoying, but at least the game happens. And now the question remains of what is actually going to be happening now with this. There had been a lot of talk about maybe UTEP being able to step in and do a home team game. Sounded great in concept. Unfortunately, NCAA and bowl officials stepping in saying, yeah, not exactly. The only people that are going to be eligible to participate in this bowl are those who have not already participated in their own bowl. So unfortunately, UTEP, having gone to a bowl, it's almost ironic that having a better season, letting them go and do that, means that they can't go and do this. But I think this could not have been foreseen or foretold or predicted by any reasonable person anyway. So it's just ironic, though, not exactly any finger pointing that can be done with it. So very, very, very unlikely that UTEP will be able to step in and play the home bowl, as I was kind of liking the idea of calling it. But it'll have to be someone that would have been like on the edge of bowl eligibility, but just like didn't go to one. So still having the same kind of record and eligibility requirements. So it's kind of up in the air at this point. Again, the real question in my mind is this going to happen? The officials say that it's going to, but just the impact and the concern if it doesn't happen or not. We've got comments going on over here about some of these subjects that we will absolutely get into more, but we're due for the break here already. So coming back from the break, talk about one of the other kind of going forward developing stories that I'm paying attention. It deals with elections. I mean, this is something we talk about a lot here. A good overview of one of the big upcoming local elections, as we got, let's go mildly chastised about last week. We'll get into all that and more after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690. If you are looking to gain that energy or, just support local, get out, do something, and be a part of activities here during this weird week between Christmas and New Year's, what I've reached to for today, and probably will the rest of this week, in order to get up for at least this show, is Clever Tea. KLEVRTEA, as in the stuff that you drink, is something that I reach for regularly when preparing for this, but they've also got their new varieties out that I got to get a look at and taste sample for myself there. But still, if you want to find out for yourself, they've got both those and the original blend, the one that I reached for going into the show, their Oolong Wise, that helps boost energy, helps reduce anxiety, promote better focus, and strengthen immunity. That's all stuff that I could use regardless of the time of year, but particularly important seemingly right now. Plus, it's a delicious blend of oolong tea, coconut, pineapple, hibiscus, eucalyptus, hawthornberry, and cinnamon, made out of whole ingredients and locally produced and designed as well. So drink where you want to and drink how you want to, and support the local guys that are doing that. Find them online at clevertea.com, KLEVRTEA.com, or find them at their storefront at 230 North Copia, which is just south of I-10 in Copia. Or if you're shopping online to order your next box, clevertea.com. Enter the code radio15 at checkout and get a discount on your next order. Shop local, drink local, clevertea.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Checking your El Paso traffic on Christmas Eve. The I-10 looks good in both directions, east and westbound. Accident reported crash on the Alameda on-ramp at Loop 375. Watch for an accident Montana Avenue at George Dieter. Also, as a reminder, Sun Metro Bus and the El Paso streetcar does not have service tomorrow for Christmas, but the streetcar is still operating tonight till 11 o'clock. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples Connect helps your business grow. Now get 20% off signs, banners, or posters when you spend $75 or more. Explore more at your local Staples or staplesconnect.com. Offer ends 1/1/22. Visit staples.com/services/printing for details. Staples Connect.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. Between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day, the amount of trash produced in the United States increases by an estimated 25%. When discarded, it can produce greenhouse gases that contribute to a changing climate. This year, try using old newspapers for wrapping or opt for reusable options such as a cloth bag instead. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
It's open enrollment season, and when it comes to you and your family's health, you want the best care at the best price. That's where Altrua Health Share comes in. You'll have access to top quality medical providers and facilities, all within your budget. This open enrollment season, learn more about Altrua Health Share and its community of other like-minded, health-conscious individuals. Ready to find out more? Dial pound 250 on your cell phone and say My Share to learn more. That's pound 250 and then say the words My Share.
El Paso Children's Hospital is turning 10 years old this Valentine's Day, and we're having a birthday party. We're celebrating 10 years of pediatric specialists. 10 years of families staying in El Paso for care. Plus, we'll unveil the first ever El Paso Children's Hospital mascots. That's right, 2 very special friends will become our new ambassadors in the community. Visit elpasochildrens.org and learn about our birthday events. El Paso Children's Hospital, 10 years of wonder.
I love the holidays, but I don't love being roommates with my siblings again. That's why I skip all the screaming matches and stay at Red Roof, so I can truly celebrate and relax in my own comfortable, clean, affordable room. Pets stay free at Red Roof, so I can bring Fido and decompress after a long day of small talk with the family without breaking the bank. And this season, you can get up to 20% off. Book your own space at redroof.com.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages we're on these days, which, interesting discussion, I'm going to choose to call it at this moment here, with Lou Pinato and Ed Clore chiming in right now on the ivermectin issue. Ed Clore saying you can get ivermectin if you show a photo of you with your horse, and Louis Pinato saying, how about my ex-wife? It's between you and your pharmacist, doctor, and probably your pastor at that point. But, I mean, it's, yeah. Good conversations going on if you want to join in. That's over on the social media pages. We'll take those calls a little bit later here towards the bottom of the half hour. As again, in between this week, between Christmas and New Year's, definitely a lot to talk about and a lot to get into. And something that I was teasing a little bit ahead of the break is what's coming up in the elections. So El Paso Matters doing a pretty good roundup of who has actually filed, and with all of now the actual drawings for the places on these primary ballots, because while we were out of the office a couple of weeks ago, we did have a bit of a roundup of some of the at least top of ballot elections coming up here, including governor's race, lieutenant governor, getting down into the attorney general, because that's a surprisingly contentious one. the very least, a lot of people have been coming up about it and bringing it up because, well, I guess unique circumstances exist in races like that. But there's also, we did that report before there was the end of the filing period, of course. So there was, I think, maybe a couple more, but particularly in local races that ended up squeaking through. So let's go down just some of them here. We do have going in the locally based federal elections here. We do have Democratic Congresswoman Veronica Escobar from El Paso's 16th Congressional District. There is a challenger she is facing within the primary of Delires Montañez Berrios. And then, of course, Irene Armendariz Jackson running unopposed on the Republican side of the ballot there. And then there is Tony Gonzalez from the 23rd, of which, part of our real listening area could be voting for, indeed, running unopposed on the Republican primary. But he does have two Democrats who have filed for the Democrat primary, Priscilla Golden and retired Marine John Lira of San Antonio. So you're probably more focused on the San Antonio side of the race there, though it's increasing, if you recall, our discussions about all of the land being changed around and the area going into the 23rd Congressional District, probably more and more of this here. Went into a good amount of what's going on with the state elections here. And of course, we do have the top of the ballot ones there, O'Rourke and Governor Greg Abbott, which is an interesting one. Some of the other clear field facing Greg Abbott in his own primary challenges. Of course, we had Don Huffines, who we had on earlier in the year, and of course, former GOP chairman for the state of Texas, Alan West. We also have Paul Ballou, Danny Harrison, Candy Cade Horn, and Rick Perry was the surprising one I hadn't heard about, who is not the former governor, just a very similar name. It's happened in other countries that people will change their names in order to either gain an advantage on the ballot, being higher up for those that are required to be listed alphabetically, or there's a guy who changed his name to like a Superman son of Batman in like Malaysia out there because why not? I guess. Hey, if it's a tactic that works for you, though, I'd be very, very wondering if it would work. So again, Robert Francis Beto O'Rourke facing a few challengers in the primary, and Arsenio Barrientos, Michael Cooper, and Joy Diaz. So those are some of the top ones here that have just kind of rounded out the race. But I wanted to get a little bit more into some of the local races as well. I mean, there's more complications going on with things like the lieutenant governor and the attorney general, which we'll probably get into as we bring up some of those interviews from the opponents that we've already talked with this year. But getting into some of the more locally based races, of course, Cesar Blanco, the senator for, I believe it's the Texas 29th Senate District. Yeah. He is running unopposed in the primary. But there's also some further complications coming for some of these other houses because of the potential change around for them. Particularly, we're going to be having Rep. Art Fierro and Claudio Ordaz Perez. We're going to be meeting in the District 79 Democratic primary because the districts changed, all that kind of fun stuff that comes along with redistricting. This is why elections matter, y'all, because the setting of this, but most notably, all of these races, in fact, I think all of them, if I'm not mistaken here, we also, Lena Ortega, Joe Moody, no Democratic opponents, but then Ortega, Moody, and Blanco face no Republican challengers for these races as well. So we got three pass-throughs here, given that the amount of contention, the amount of issues that have happened over this past year. I'm frankly a little surprised about that no one could muster up to decide to challenge it here. And there's more. There's actually a very good overview that El Paso Matters also did of some of the more specific county commissioners court seats, but very specifically, County Judge Ricardo Samaniego is not facing a party opponent. What I mean by that is he's facing neither a Democrat challenger in the primary nor a Republican challenger for the general. There is an independent challenger, and while not knowing the specifics of that person or their real policies here, not much out there, frankly, it's a little bit surprising to me. I mean, again, not knowing much about that person or their politics, not to say that their race seems doomed, but there hasn't been a great history of independents running in this community. So just from the very general nature of it, kind of seeming a little bit stacked against them. But to a larger extent, the fact that there's no challenger is very interesting and frankly surprising to me, given the amount of consternation, particularly that we had listeners of this program expressing in a variety of ways, not even just necessarily in a partisan way, but a what the heck are we doing with these challenges that I think are technically, some of them still going on, fun stuff over the restrictions, mandates, overturning mandates, all of that kind of stuff here. The fact that there isn't a challenger really coming up there is surprising. That's just the only real way to put it here, particularly given how y'all have talked about it, that, there was a lot of upset about the way things were getting put into place. But I guess that was kind of within probably early, about a year ago. It was really one that was coming down in the middle of this year, and the fact that there was nothing really happening towards the end of this year, the last joint news conference between the mayor and the county judge ended up saying that's got some requests for the populace, but no new restrictions being put into place or being attempted to put into place would probably be the more accurate way to put it. I guess it just surprises me that no one even bothered to try to challenge it there. So we essentially, again, not to say anything bad about the person who was running as an independent here, but going on the track record of independent candidacies, both within our community and kind of across the country as a whole, not going to hold my breath about that being a reasonable challenge. If they get it on the ballot, that's frankly a good step here, but just the way that this is all hashing out and moving forward here, including the fact that we have a lot of the Democrat state reps that have no challenges here, given that this was pretty contentious last year, does make me wonder about the involvement and, frankly, about what the turnout is going to be in these next elections. I'd been hoping that this 3.5% and 4.5% respectively elections that we've had recently for school board and constitutional amendments, further respectively, over this past year would be flukes, saying this is off year kind of stuff. I guess people don't turn out and show up. Yeah. But this is very concerning that no one has even, there used to be a project out there, the Ficus Project, to get a literal ficus to run against these unopposed seats in order to bring further attention to the fact that, hey, these people are literally getting a pass through. One person shows up to the ballot and checks yes for this. They are back in office. That's the threshold we're at here. So I really hope that you all do go out and vote, but there's more needed very clearly here. So that's over a good rundown from all of this from El Paso Matters. Plus, they have a good, more in-depth rundown of some of the major candidates for the 2 county commissioner seats that will be up. Decently crowded fields there, actually, which leads to a further question of, are people focusing too much on that and not more of these literally unopposed seats? I think there's, and frankly, not even any Democrat opponents. That's just concerning in its own right. The fact that no one's let's at least have a conversation about what the platform is and what we can get done here. I never like to see it. I hate to see it, frankly, when there is no one challenging incumbents. I never want incumbents to feel comfortable. That is the worst of reasonable things that could happen. Sure, there's a lot worse things, flaming comets featuring dinosaurs to eat us all from the sky. Yeah, there's a lot in my imagination I can come up with that's worse, but within regular electoral politics, one of the most common outcomes, to be more clear about it, is got to be unopposed incumbents, because then there's a feeling of comfort of, no one cares. And that's the real problem that happens within our community, of people in elected office feeling no one cares. Now, I'm not accusing anyone in particular of the races that I've mentioned here of feeling that way, but this kind of situation tends to engender that. You can see it more specifically within other elected bodies of our local area, but I don't like it. I hate to see it, frankly. But we'll see what happens here as we get into the elections, and hopefully people will start paying more attention, though. Not going to hold my breath on that one either here. All right, we're coming up on the need for a break here, but we are going to go ahead and open up those phone lines at this point. That number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. lot to talk about here, but we'll take those calls at the end of the hour. So 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso. Something you don't have to be concerned about because you have it as a resource available for you when you need it is dealing with those minor medical emergencies that can derail these holiday plans for you. Where I keep in the back of my mind to go is Upper Valley Urgent Care Center, 121 East Red Road. Dr. Carpenter and his team are ready to help you 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. No appointment needed, walk-in basis with their 20 exam rooms and fast and friendly 5-star medical treatment. This is an important thing to keep in mind, particularly since, we got those still pretty short days and long nights and a lot of celebrations and a lot of things that you want to get onto. But if you end up with those day disruptors, those speed bumps in your road that leave you wondering how to move forward, they are there for you. 15th anniversary, they're celebrating this year. Plus, they are a VI authorized urgent care provider, so a lot of good reasons to keep that in mind. Upper Valley Urgent Care Center.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Veronica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. U.S. health officials today cut isolation restrictions for Americans who catch coronavirus from 10 to 5 days and similarly shortened the time that close contacts need to quarantine. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention officials say the guidance is keeping in with growing evidence that people with COVID-19 are most infectious in the 2 days before and 3 days after symptoms develop. The decision also was driven by a recent surge in COVID-19 cases propelled by Omicron. Early research suggests Omicron may cause milder illnesses than earlier versions of the coronavirus, but the sheer number of those becoming infected threatens to crush hospitals, airlines, and other businesses to be able to stay open. Meantime, COVID-19 over-the-counter and at-home tests have become scarce here in El Paso. An advisor on the CDC website says there is currently a temporary shortage in point-of-care and over-the-counter test supplies. The CDC recommends the use of lab-based testing whenever possible. I'm Veronica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Checking your El Paso traffic. Watch for some stop-and-go traffic. Westbound on the I-10 between Wrestler and Thorns. Pretty heavy in there with about 10-minute delays. Accident reported Gateway Boulevard at Kenworthy earlier in the hour. Is still affecting the traffic flow southbound at Kenworthy. And reports of an accident in Yarborough at Gateway West. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. We've got a pretty active weather pattern coming up this week, so coming back off our holiday means we're looking at temperatures decreasing through the week with rain chances increasing in time to welcome in the new year. But we also have winds to contend with as breezy to windy weather can be expected almost every day this week.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples Connect helps your business grow. Now get 20% off signs, banners, or posters when you spend $75 or more. Explore more at your local Staples or staplesconnect.com. Offer ends 1/1/22. Visit staples.com/services/printing for details. Staples Connect.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider and are only available if the provider determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
Hey guys, good news. The outrageously expensive little blue pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And Hims makes it extra affordable. You pay just $30 for a month's supply. And right now, get your first online doctor's visit totally free. 4hims.com/radio. That's right. Free, zero copay, no expensive appointments, no awkward face-to-face conversations to get your prescription. Hims connects you to doctors online who can evaluate you and, if appropriate, prescribe your ED medication. And a pharmacy sends it right to your door. Hims makes it affordable, private, and incredibly easy. Nobody likes dealing with ED. Now, thanks to Hims, nobody has to. And that's really good news. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
If you're a valued customer, you deserve a simple gesture of appreciation from your credit card company. And that's why Discover matches all of the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. Discover. Exceptionally common sense. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply. This report is sponsored by Discover.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
You need to know what's going on.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Why should you volunteer with Meals on Wheels?
I never thought that 5 minutes could make so much difference in the lives of two people, but it has.
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org. Brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Something else you can do to take control of your health and stay on top of the latest medical innovations is by tuning in every Saturday at noon to the Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao. He's a board-certified vascular interventionalist that helps you navigate our complex medical system with healthcare hacks. In this case, in the positive sense, we're not doing anything untoward, but like in the life hack kind of sense of you knowing the ways to deal with these very complex systems and make it work for you, being a savvy and informed consumer of healthcare services, which is really what it comes down to. So he gives you insights on treatments for common medical problems, and you can submit your own questions ahead of future shows by emailing rao@medicalhackers.com. That's his last name, RAO @medicalhackers.com. And be sure to tune in this coming Saturday at noon, right after the El Paso History Radio Show, right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, which can get on most of your smart devices, as well as on our various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. This is also a portion of the show where we have the phone lines open. So if you want to call in, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. A lot of stuff we've brought up just here right now that I definitely want to get into more, but if you got other comments about the things affecting us here in the borderland, this is the time to do so, or your comments, or all of these ways here, particularly those of you out there, if you're safely driving in your car, got hands-free, you're more than welcome to, but otherwise, please keep your eyes on the road. I already heard about those updated traffic reports about those congestion going on, so please stay safe out there on the roads here as we're getting closer and closer to the end of the year. So, going to do some of these calls here right now. We are joined now by Zarina on the west side. Zarina, thanks for joining us.
Oh, hi. How are you?
Doing all right. What's on your mind?
Okay. I keep on seeing every week that the Department of Public Health, I suppose that's what it is, right? They post how many deaths and how many cases of COVID were reported on certain weeks. And last week they were saying that there were 63 deaths they posted today. And out of the 63, 81% were not fully vaccinated. Now, I don't know, but what's fully vaccinated now? Is it 2? Is it 3? It's confusing. And the other thing that's confusing more is that they don't tell you how many people that did die were fully boosted. Okay, they just say that so many died that were fully vaccinated. But what about the ones that were boosted? Why don't they just tell us of those X number that died that were fully vaccinated? So many were fully boosted, or none were, or all of them that survived were fully boosted. Because I don't know why they don't disclose that. It's a whole different issue to having 2 shots of having a booster shot. My son just got COVID. He works for a major airline in Houston. And on the 23rd, he was diagnosed with that. And he was boosted and fully vaccinated. And he just has like a mild cold.
Well, thanks
and
for that.
Fact, he's not even a cold anymore. It's just a tiny bit of cough. So it's important for the public to know that if you're fully boosted, how many people are dying or how many people are not dying. Yeah, and I don't know if you can help us with Angela Mora on that. Yeah, for her to disclose that, because I think maybe you have more access than the general public to these officials. And it would be nice if they would disclose that.
You're definitely right on that last point about being nice to disclose it. I'm fully in favor of put out all the data and sure, maybe include some interpretations if you feel necessary, but be as transparent as possible, because it's when things aren't clear that questions like this arise. This could be a very simple answer to be able to give out about what it is, given a little bit more detail that is accessible directly from the reports. They do break it down between persons partially vaccinated and persons fully vaccinated. The best I don't really have a good local answer for you, to put it in short there, but the best national answer about the way this is being handled is that fully vaccinated has kind of become a rolling term here. That the 2 doses initially, depending on when you got it, does count as fully vaccinated for the 6 months, and then after that point, it then starts to include the booster. Whether that is the logic being used for the local reports here, I simply don't have a good answer for you on, because, yeah, it is not clear in this, but this is something I think we'll have to follow up on, particularly as we continue with this, and there's a lot of expectation, and as we talked about, lack of supplies and all that stuff that comes into it. And I want to make this very clear, because we often end up getting comments or criticism about this. These are things that I think are important for every El Pasoan to know, that wants to be informed in order to gauge and make their own appropriate decisions and their own risk factors. So that's the reason I talk about these. Yeah, absolutely.
And this another thing about the monoclonal things that you said. I saw a doctor say yesterday that the monoclonal therapy is not very effective against Omicron, because it has too many, what do you call variants or whatever, or spikes, and it's good for Delta, but not for Omicron. So they're saying, that's what this doctor said on CNN. I don't know if it's true or not, right? But I'll just tell you what he said. But in any case, I just would like to know, because other people, like you said right now, they will say, okay, maybe I should get a booster because the people with boosters are not dying, right? But we don't know that, because they don't tell us that. They just tell us fully vaccinated. Now, I heard that fully vaccinated is going to change now. It's going to include 3 jabs.
Mm-hmm.
So when that's going to happen, I'm pretty sure it's going to be very soon. Like I said, my son got it. He's 25 years old. He works for a major airline. He's fine. He probably would have been fine anyways, but the fact that he just got, all his coworkers, about 8 of them got it on the 23rd also of December. So there's flights that are grounded. They can't go back for 10 days. And he says, Mom, I could go back in 5 days, but they don't let me. The unions don't want people to go back.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
It's a mess, because all these people that can't fly back, the stores are not going to have staff. The restaurants are not going to have staff. You just name it. People are going to get stranded where they're at right now on vacation.
Yeah.
So it's just a mess.
That is a rough time of year for this,
I would just
absolutely.
appreciate if you could see if you could get in touch with Angela Mora and ask her if she could disclose that every week, so that we know the boosted and the not boosted. And that's all I'm asking. And basically, whoever wants to get vaccinated can do it. That's their decision. That's their freedom. And I respect that. So that's all I'm asking, just disclose everything, and then people can make an informed decision.
No, fair enough. I think it's a reasonable question. So glad that you and yours are doing all right, given the circumstances, and wish you speedy recovery for everyone involved, and a happy new year if you can have one.
You get scared because you don't know what's going to happen. But thank God that people that were fully vaccinated and boosted are doing well. So hopefully they'll disclose that, and people will make a decision informed on that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the call, and a happy new year if you can.
Happy New Year to yourself. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. I think we're going to squeeze in one more quick call before we hit that next break here. We do have Brandon over in Central here with us. Brandon, thanks for joining us.
How you doing?
Doing all right.
I just wanted to know why they're running unopposed. Is it have anything to do with the disaster in Washington, or do they really people just not care to hold those offices? I don't know. It's confusing.
Yeah, going back to our discussion from last segment about the elected officials, I'd like to ascribe it to some larger thing about, there is this almost like, conscientious objector almost kind of situation going on. But honestly, I am not thinking that's the case. Like, I'd love for there to be no, they're doing different things. But given that the fact that there are a number of people, I think there's 6 people almost near or close to in each of the 2 county commissioner races that are going forward. El Paso has always had a decent amount of willingness to go for the very local races. There was the one time that we had dang near a dozen mayoral candidates. That has been a circumstance that we have had happening on here. I think partially it is that that state legislators are one of the most overlooked forms of government in our local area. So that's part of it. But the fact that no one, given the fact that there was so much focus on it in this last year when they decamped to D.C., among other things, and that no one's even willing to then challenge it, seeing any vulnerability there. Whether you like them or not is immaterial. This has nothing to do with my even personal feelings on these persons, but the fact that there's, for several races, not even a challenger on either side of the ballot is baffling. So I got to chalk up a bit to, given the voter turnout rates we have in our area, apathy, which is almost the worst of all worlds involved in this, because if people just don't care, the wheels fall off of this system. And that's almost as concerning as any other possibility that's been discussed in this last year. Ugh. Please run for office if you got the wherewithal in the future, or at least consider it, or get someone or get behind someone that does. Energy and involvement in this system is literally the lifeblood of our system. And so seeing this, yeah. Anyway, got to take that next break right now as I recompose myself from that mildly depressing thought. But we'll come back to it with more to talk about the issues that affect us here locally and a whole lot more. If you want to call in, that number to do so, squeeze a few more in, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more. We are not quite at the end of the year, and that means you can still claim your $50 off benefit for all breast thermograms through Therapeutics and Thermography, Inc. You can find them at 935 Sunland Park Drive inside Biometrics with its big blue and white sign, and find out the benefits of it, particularly when it comes to tracking those very important conditions that can really mess up future holidays, such as breast cancer. Any month is a good month to be focused on awareness of it, and knowing what's going on inside your body can help you take more proactive decisions against it. So, breast thermogram, like a heat map for your body, is being offered by Therapeutics and Thermography, Inc., and this is why they are continuing their $50 off all breast thermograms through the end of the year. Claim your benefit by calling 915-401-4053. That's 915-401-4053, or find them online at ElPasoThermography.com. That's El Paso, TheRmography.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Checking your El Paso traffic. I-10 westbound is heavy with about 5-minute delays between Ressler and Thorne right now. Zaragoza, south of the I-10, an injury accident there, not in one but two places on Zaragoza and Escobar, and Zaragoza at Kastner. Accident reported Sun Valley Drive at the Gateway. You could take Fairbanks Drive as an alternate there. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Allstate. Looking to save money this year? Look at Allstate. You can get the protection you need at the low rate you want. With Allstate, you can lower your rates, not your expectations. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
What happens if we find the home we want, but somebody else just got to it quicker? What if we can't sell our existing home on time and we get stuck with two mortgages? I know. I've been there, and I have a solution. Listen carefully. You just need to call Brian Birds of eXp Realty. He'll guarantee your home will sell on time, or he's going to buy it himself. You'll get the home you want, and you don't have to worry about getting stuck with a burden of two mortgages. Hundreds of home sellers and renters trust Brian, and you can trust him as well. Connect personally with Brian today at 751-1500. That's 751-1500. Or go to brianbirds.com. That's Brian, BURDS.com.
Hey, El Paso, have you heard? To sell your home guaranteed, call Brian Birds. Go to brianbirds.com.
In 1982, Melissa Tate identifies Rodney Lincoln as her mother's killer. Then in 2015, Melissa says Rodney didn't do it. On the Real Killer podcast, Leah Rothman reveals what may be a miscarriage of justice.
It was one of the most brutal crimes in St. Louis history. A single mother murdered. Her two young daughters barely survived the attack. I'm on a mission to find the real killer.
Listen to The Real Killer on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
There's no place like home for the holidays, except when you're stuck sleeping on the pull-out couch in the basement. This year, I'm resting my head at Red Roof in my own comfortable, affordable, and clean space. You know, you can save up to 20% this holiday season at Red Roof locations. Plus, pets stay free at Red Roof, so Fluffy can come along for the holiday fun. This holiday season, book your own space at redroof.com and save up to 20%.
Radio advertising can connect your business with holiday shoppers wherever they go. Use iHeart Ad Builder to create an affordable custom radio ad right on your phone. Just click, listen, approve, then hear it on the radio. Create your customized ad today at iHeartAdBuilder.com.
Staples Connect helps your business grow. Now get 20% off signs, banners, or posters when you spend $75 or more. Explore more at your local Staples or staplesconnect.com. Offer ends 1/1/22. Visit staples.com/services/printing for details. Staples Connect.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of ways you can interact with the show. Of course, we have the social media spaces where we got Louis Pinato and Clore who've chimed in so far. More tuning in. You're welcome to chime in there if you want to. Another way you can also leave us a comment day or night is through the pound 250 line. That's pound 250. Dial that on your cell phone. Has to be a cell phone for this to work. And you then say the keyword Talk El Paso when prompted and leave us a message day or night. Got one of those coming up here in just a second. But to a larger extent, you want to be involved with some of the shows we got coming up this week. We do have kind of a biggest interviews of the year that we're going to be doing on tomorrow, and then some of the biggest news topics locally and affecting locally of the year on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we will be doing our open line show for the week. So that's the schedule here for this week. Just to mention a couple of our sponsors here, Talk El Paso, brought to you in part by M1EP Management Corporation. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, consider investing in real estate. M1EP manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See their new website, m1ep.com. That's m1ep.com to learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate. Call certified property manager Mike Baca at 915-592-4549. That's 915-592-4549. Thank you to our sponsors. Please support them as they support us in our mission to bring live local talk radio here to the borderland. And also we have, also as part of our sponsorship, Thrive 915 Food Fest. Find them online, particularly on Facebook, coming out of the Facebook pages you may have heard us talk about, but Thrive 915 Food Fest and the Texas Restaurant and Food Trucks Facebook pages. Pretty great resources for you to find out what's going on within parts of our community. I've appreciated particularly the in-person events that they have held, the business mixers that we have partnered with them on more specifically for this month, but roaring back loudly for the new year, plus some new initiatives we're working on that we'll want to have them back on the show about. So again, if you want to find out those resources, Thrive 915 Food Fest on Facebook, or find them at the other Facebook page, Texas Restaurants and Food Trucks. All of this trying to get you more information on what's going on in our community here. So we're going to get to at least one more quick call here on the line before we end the show for the day here. I believe we do have Marky Mandingo on the line here. Marky, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew, thanks for your time. I would like to give a message out to El Paso. Anybody who knew Jerome Tillman, please call in with any information you have about what you know about what's going on. I have not read an obituary. I do not. I've tried to contact the military funeral services about where he's going to be interred. I know that he was an American hero. He was a special operator in Panama during Noriega. He was a very good El Pasoan. He taught at El Paso District, and he and I became teachers together. He's just a very important person, and I'm very devastated that he's gone. But if anyone of you know, even if you know, if you're listening, if you were his financial advisor, I'm hoping to see what at least at his funeral. I don't know where his burial will be, but please provide any information you can, and I'm hoping Andrew can have a tribute show to Jerome's legacy in El Paso. He was very important. He was twice the man Beto O'Rourke is, and he's still lost to him. I'm devastated that he's gone.
I appreciate the sentiment there, Marky. I really do. So if anyone does have anything they want to share with me, either off air or even after the show, my email is andrewpolk@iheartmedia.com. Particularly if we have anyone with the family or anyone dealing with the affairs, I would love to hear with you and talk with you more, because I mean, he was a valued contributor to this show in its own way and to a lot more in the community. So if anyone can,
don't forget Jerome Tillman, guys. He was a very important El Paso, and he'll be sorely missed.
Absolutely there. Well, thank you very much for the call, and hopefully someone can provide more out there, because we've been looking for the obituary as well and would definitely like to know what will be happening. So thank you for the call. Do appreciate it.
Thank you, Andrew. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So I think that'll be just about the time we have here for today. Been think we'll keep it on that note here. So we got an announcement coming up tomorrow about future shows here. But again, the way we will be doing it this week is with some look backs and some look forwards here, because particularly with those elections that are coming up, we've got some of the big interviews, not just with the elected officials that are hoping, or the ones that are on the ballot or are hoping to become the elected officials by being on the ballot. We're going to do clips from those interviews coming up this week here, as well as some of the biggest news topics and the interviews related to that. All that coming up this week. And again, open lines on Thursday in place of the show on Friday. We'll be out of the office for the New Year's Eve on Friday. So probably get into a little bit later in the week that big announcement about future shows in the new year. But in the meantime, I do appreciate everyone who did call in, comment, participate in the show. Y'all are really what make this happen the way it does, because having that conversation, having that discussion about what is important to us here in the borderland is one that is indispensable and one we will keep doing as long as we can. So thank you again to everyone. That is our show here for today. Thank you for tuning in, calling in, commenting. Do it again tomorrow, 4 to 5 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. Stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles and on the road. And as always, have a great evening. See you tomorrow. Back with another Medicare Moment with Eric with Advocate Health Advisors. I've heard of a benefit included in some Medicare Advantage plans called a Part B Give Back. What is that?
Well, a Part B Give Back, or better described as a premium reduction, is a reduction in the Medicare Part B premium for members participating in specific plans. For example, if your premium is $148 and you have a $50 Part B Give Back, your Medicare Part B premium deduction would drop to only $98. It instantly puts money back in the veteran's pocket simply for enrolling in one of these plans.
For more info on this and much more, you can call Eric, your local advisor, wherever you're hearing this broadcast, at 1-800-876-0214. That's 1-800-876-0214.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Checking your El Paso traffic. I-10 westbound is heavy with about 5-minute delays between Wrestler and Thorne right now. Zaragoza, south of the I-10, an injury accident there, not in one but two places on Zaragoza and Escobar and Zaragoza at Kastner. Accident reported Sun Valley Drive at the Gateway. You could take Fairbanks Drive as an alternate there. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
I'm Chris Walls, and I'm a truck driver from Missouri. For 13 hours a night, I sit in my truck and I drive. Out of boredom, I'll stop and eat. If I'm not doing fast food, I guarantee there's a bag of chips open on my dashboard. That was all until Andro 400. I started out 4 months ago, and since taking Andro 400, I have dropped 45 pounds. I'm sleeping better. There's no cravings. I actually don't even think about food. My knee pain went away. I've had some lower back issues, and I've noticed that went away, and I can only contribute that to Andro 400. One thing that Andro 400 said on the radio ad is it attacks belly fat. Well, let me tell you, it did. The second month is where I saw a drastic change in the size of my stomach. I've lost 6 inches. This product really does work.
So guys, if you'd like to experience similar results, then get Andro 400. The safe, natural, and inexpensive way to boost your testosterone. Go to andro400.com or call 888-400-0435. 888-400-0435.
Stay informed at KTSMradio.com.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from
News
FEMA
on
and
the hour
Ad Council.
and the hat. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. President Biden says he will follow the advice of his medical team about shortening quarantine periods for those who test positive or are exposed to coronavirus. Biden made these comments on a call with the nation's governors and the White House COVID-19 response team. The president said the current testing system in the U.S. is clearly not enough. Flights are continuing to be canceled across the country as COVID cases surge, Brad Siegel has more.
FlightAware reports more than 2,500 flights were canceled today, 1,000 of them being within, into, or out of the U.S. It comes after more than 6,000 were canceled globally over the weekend.
Stocks are finishing higher as investors return after the holiday week amid a continuing surge of cases across the country. At the closing bell, the Dow Jones gained 352 points to 36,302. The S&P 500 jumped up by 65 points to 4791. The Nasdaq rose 218 points to 15,871. A California senator wants to financially help children who've lost parents due to COVID. Julie Ryan reports.
California Democratic Senator Nancy Skinner plans to introduce legislation to help children who have lost a parent or caregiver due to COVID-19. Under the legislation, savings accounts would be set up for children from lower income families who have lost a primary caregiver. Kids up to age 9 would receive a deposit up to $3,000, and those ages 10 to 17 would receive up to $5,000. As of right now, there are an estimated 20,000 California children who would qualify. The Hope for Children Act will be introduced in January.
A man charged in the U.S. Capitol riot is asking a federal judge to modify the conditions of his release from jail. Thomas Sibick of Buffalo, New York, is one of the suspects in the assault of D.C. police officer Michael Fanone. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. The American Civil Liberties Union intends on suing South Carolina over redistricting. Rebecca Hubbard has the details.
The organization announcing on Twitter they will be filing a lawsuit against the state they call illegally gerrymandering state house maps. WBTW reports they intend to see the state in court again over redistricting maps. They've already filed a suit over the alleged closed nature of the redistricting process. Now that the maps are out, the organization says the maps are intended to dilute the voting strength of black voters. The practice of redrawing district maps to add or reduce strength of a party is called gerrymandering and sometimes happens every 10 years following the census.
A large Roman fort built by Caligula has been discovered near Amsterdam. Located on the Dutch coast 20 miles from the city, the camp was thought to have been used by Emperor Claudius during the British conquest of 43 AD. The fort was abandoned a few years later after Claudius ordered his troops to retreat behind the Rhine River. New York City icon Patti Smith is getting a key to the city.
The singer-songwriter and influential member of New York's punk rock scene discussed coming to New York from South Jersey in the late 60s, saying she had no money and no place to stay, but learned a lot about herself and the city, making a point of noting New York will overcome.